Welcome to the Business Information Buffet Podcast, also known as the BIB Podcast, where everybody eats, brought to you by the College of Southern Nevada Small Business Entrepreneurship Development, powered by MV Grow. Are you ready to eat? Because this is where everybody eats. Welcome to the Business Information Buffet Podcast, also known as the BIB Podcast, where everybody eats. Powered by MV Grow, housed at the College of Southern Nevada. We are your hosts, Sean Torrey and Don Allen, the Don. What's up, sir?
How's it going?
Man, I'm good, man. How you feeling today?
I feel good. How about you?
Man, I'm feeling good. I see the outfit is nice. I like this too. Like, what's good? What you got going?
Just a little white sweater, black jeans.
Okay.
Pirate Black Yeezy 350 V1's 2016 release.
Now, I wasn't a believer before. I'm not, and I say this publicly. I was not a believer before. Mm-hmm. And so my wife got me some Yeezys. Mm-hmm. Those things are comfortable.
Some of the most comfortable shoes you can wear.
Ever. I was like, now I see why they cost the way they did.
Yeah.
So Kanye, whatever you're going to do next, please do it right. Because them shoes is comfortable.
Man, what you got on? What you got on?
Today,
spiffy today a little bit.
A little bit. You know, I put on my Alpha Blazer today. Put the bow tie on, and then shout out to Nipsey Hussle, put some Pumas on. Mm-hmm. And that's it, man. That's all. This is the fit for today.
Nice.
Just nice suit. Wanted to make sure we came right. Our guest today, he got his real Beach Boy vibe today.
He got his own drip.
He got his own drip.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of our guest, today's episode is called We Are All Music, with a special guest who's excited to discuss the importance of knowing music is what drives our everyday lives. All right. Our guest today is born from Long Island during the Nixon administration, an American bachelor, Italian Irish descent, professional singer, band leader, music producer too, and he's from New York City for 25 years before moving to Las Vegas in 2018 for new adventures in the great American West. While singing remains a talent of his, it is a strumming of ukuleles, right? Ukuleles? How I say it?
Ukulele.
Good Lord, I messed it up. I knew I would. But the baritone tenor style, especially, which has become his greener pastures, right? Using his Fender gear, he strums 1,000 songs spanning from 1920s to 1980s.
Wow.
Now that's a lot of songs, and there's a lot of good music for sure. Because we was talking about that before air.
Yeah.
So yes, once upon a time, he thought he was a musician until the day he realized that he is music. We are all music. Our very existence is music. That's what he said.
That's deep.
So ladies, gentlemen, everybody, the one, the only, Timothy Connolly. What's up, sir?
Yeah.
Hello.
Come on.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
How you feeling, sir?
I'm great. I'm not usually up and about this early on a Saturday. It feels good.
It feels good? See, man, you come in here with good vibes. We gonna get you up in the morning.
Definitely.
I had a great reason to wake up early today. Thanks for having me come.
No, of course, man. That's no problem at all. Thank you for coming all this way.
My pleasure.
Man, so please, this first segment, we talk about the blueprint. Please tell us the blueprint about you. I gave your introduction light because I wanted you to tell your story and tell who you are. So please tell our guests, how did you come about with your blueprint, your business, you being a musician? Tell us about Timothy.
Well, let's see. These days here in Las Vegas, I'm known as an ukulele musician.
Yeah.
And my history as having been a band leader and lead singer and music producer and impresario and all that, that's behind me now. What I've done is I've redefined myself as an entertainer. And even though it seems a bit odd to be an ukulele player in what's really a guitar town, or really a DJ's town more than a guitar's town, I suppose, but this is not a ukulele town, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a place for it still. I've done pretty well for myself. From a business standpoint, just doing ukulele music, I've already, just by myself, playing solo shows. And, well, COVID knocked everything out, but right after the pandemic and things came back to life a little bit, last year and the year before, finally been able to get back out there myself just me without a manager, without an artist, agent, representative, or anything like that. No record label, none of that. Just me going out there and doing my thing. And I've already been able to earn thousands of dollars in the past 2 years alone, just doing this now. And it's amazing to me because it's more money than I've ever earned as a musician or a performer back in New York City,
Wow.
where I had been doing it for about 25 years. It took a long time to figure out what my niche was going to be. And I guess it ended up being this. Back in 2008, 2009, one of my bandmates gave me an ukulele just as a random gift. And so I would sometimes play it or fool around with it around the campfires if we'd be jamming or whatever we'd be doing. And little by little, it just got its hooks into me. And now it's like there's a symbiosis that exists between this instrument and myself. And when I say this instrument, I don't necessarily just mean this instrument specifically, because I own 6 different ones of these, different sizes. And so if the other instruments are out there listening, please don't feel bad. I didn't mean it. I promise. They're very sensitive.
Right.
She doesn't even want to be left alone in the car when I go to the supermarket or whatever. But it's okay. Today, it's fine. Anyway, her name is Jess. You can see her name is engraved into the wood.
Nice.
Jess is short for Jessica, one of my biggest fans in New York, who eventually became a bandmate of mine. She followed that path of being the fan who became a bandmate, which is an interesting path to follow for sure.
Right.
I've never taken that path myself. I can only imagine what it must have been like for her, but our bond is very special. So even though we are separated now by more than 2,000 miles, I guess it is, I'm still with her all the time because I have her name right here.
Cool.
She knows that I named this instrument after her. And so this is Jess. And Jess is happy to be here today with all of you, just as I am.
Man, that's a blessing,
That's
man.
dope.
Hopefully Jessica out there, she sees this.
Yes.
Let her know, Jess, he loves you.
Oh, Jess.
We rock with you.
We love you, meaning and me.
For sure.
Thank you.
Shout out to Jess.
Shout out to Jess.
Shout out to Jess.
So, and you play a span of music for different genres from 1920s to 1980s. What was the idea behind that? Over 1,000 songs. That's a lot of songs.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for that?
Well, the inspiration for that is really just the source material itself. Just the great classic music that deserves to be kept alive in whatever form. Whether it's, keeping it stored on a hard drive somewhere or having someone being out there and performing it live for people. People who might not have ever heard the traditional Hawaiian wedding song from 1926 can hear me play it. In fact, 1926, here's what's interesting about that. After 95 years, IP goes into public domain.
Yes, yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's music or if it's film or whatever it is. The traditional Hawaiian wedding song was written in 1926, and I've recently thought about recording my own version of it. And then last week, my album dropped, and it was on the album.
Right.
And it's going to be the single from the album. Because it's public domain, and I haven't spoken with my entertainment lawyer about this, but because it's public domain, it's my understanding that there's no licensing, there's no trademark, there's nothing. There's nothing to prevent me from going out there and taking that music, releasing it myself, even if it's, just me, instrumental, ukulele. I own the rights to it, don't I? I mean, I own the rights to my piece of music. I wonder how that would work. I wouldn't expect anyone here in this room to be an expert on that topic.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
don't think
sure.
any of us are entertainment lawyers, but I'm curious about that. So, but anyway, back to your question, though. There is really just so much great music that deserves to be preserved and performed. I can't do it all, but I can certainly try my best to do as much of it as I can. When I was performing in New York, one of the sides, we had multiple sides of our band. We had one side that would just do 50s, 60s, and 70s, classic rock, R&B, Motown, soul grooves with full horn section. And that would be what we did, keeping that music alive. From Fats Domino to Smokey Robinson to Marvin Gaye and everything in between. And then on the rock and roll side, everything from Elvis Presley, Buddy Holly, onwards up to Peter Frampton and all that. So there was such a wealth of music that we had to be ready to perform all the time. So coming from New York to Nevada, where I live now, I brought with me just a wealth of knowledge of music that's stored up in me over the years of having been a performer and having had to learn all of this music to be ready to go out and do it for the good people and all the fans. Whether it was Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd, or whether it was the Beach Boys or the Beatles. Beach Boys, by the way, are my all-time number one.
For sure.
I have so much respect for those guys as songwriters. I used to think, okay, mostly it was Brian Wilson doing the writing, and to a certain extent it was for a time. But Brian wasn't always the man.
No.
Sometimes it was his brothers, and sometimes it was the other guys in the band, like Mike and Bruce and Al and everybody that got involved later on. I love that catalog of music. I still can't believe Brian Wilson's father, Murray, went behind his son's backs and sold the entire catalog of music.
Wow.
Yeah.
For about, I think it was either $6 million or $60 million. It was something like that.
There's something high.
In the late 60s.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's a common thing that does happen.
Yeah.
In the music industry.
All the publishing rights gone.
Publishing rights too.
It was a catalog of songs called The Sea of Tunes. It was a famous situation. Murray Wilson, who was the dad who sold The Sea of Tunes, eventually ended up getting fired by his own sons as the manager from their band.
Well, yeah, you just sold all of our music.
Well,
of course they're going to fire you.
But that's a huge reason why folks like Michael Jackson really became bigger than what a lot of people expected. He bought everyone's publishing.
Yeah, he was buying other people's
catalogs. He bought
catalogs,
everyone's catalogs, and he actually gifted a lot of folks' artists back for that reason, because his dad owned all their stuff.
That was smart.
It was smart. So when it came down to him, he was like, he's like, you could buy other folks' publishing. Now, there's people who do right by people. That's fine. And I had a question for you especially about the original song, the Hawaiian song. Even though it is public domain, right? Do you feel there's a right to pay homage to the original artists as well, who did make that music? And how would you honor them, by the way? Yeah. Even though it's public domain and you probably publishing rights, trademark rights, you don't have to worry about it.
My arrangement of the composition would be very true to the melody of the original songwriting, which was done by Charles E. White. This is 1926. That song later went on to be covered by so many artists over the years.
Yeah, same, and it's the same thing, because when I hear you say Elvis Presley, the first person I think about woman-wise is Bessie Smith. Bessie Smith was the original Hound Dogs, and she wrote it. Her and her band, they wrote Hound Dog, and
that's right.
Elvis got it.
That's right.
It made it popular.
It made it popular. But one thing, I give respect to Elvis now. Before I did it, I didn't respect Elvis back. Let's be honest with you. Because I didn't know this piece of history where... Because you have folks like Ray Charles who felt the way about him. But Elvis did pay homage to Bessie Smith and all those folks. Because he used to go, when it wasn't popular, he was going to the black clubs. Right. And they were all friends with him. And he was one of the only white guys to actually be friends with everyone.
Around that time, of course.
Exactly.
Segregation and everything.
He was one of the only guys to do it. Huh?
I would love to have met him.
Man, I feel, and it sucks what the General did to him. So the General...
Did you see the movie? The Elvis movie?
Yeah, I saw
really
the Elvis movie. But I remember, I learned about it years before too, though. Just being somebody who wasn't, and just for folks who didn't know, Sean used to play music. I used to be a musician. I started off as the trumpet player, played the sax, played drums, and then high school between playing the French horn and the trumpet. So I played various music since I was in elementary all the way up to high school.
Yes.
So I was a student in music. So, and we talked about it before the episode started, but I always wanted to be Satchmo, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, John Coltrane. These folks are who I wanted to be as a musician. And so me listening to music now, certain things I miss, like the artistry and the frequency in actual musicians. Musicians playing instruments, we don't have that much anymore.
Not too much of it.
In live bands, you do. When you go to live performances, you see the bands and stuff. But yeah. But anyway, off the soapbox. Just know, I think as a musician, he's right. One thing I know you're right about, you have to know your history in music, because a lot of the greats, they learn from the greats. And Michael Jackson would tell you James Brown was number one.
Absolutely.
Right? And a lot of people, like, if you credit Michael, you got to credit James Brown.
You can credit James Brown to almost any song today.
Come on. James Brown was that guy. You know, but it's stuff like that, right? Where, and I'm glad to know that you tap into all these genres, because if it wasn't for jazz, blues, rock and roll, all that wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a piece of music that we just don't talk about anymore. And it all started from jazz. And before it was J-A-Z-Z, it was J-A-S-S.
Really?
Like, yeah, bro. People don't even know. Louis Armstrong doesn't know the day he was born, the year he was born, by the way. Like, that's how. There's this history I can go down the line. We're not interviewing me. We're interviewing my guy here, Tim. But
This is cool, though.
but what do you think about all that? Like, just where music has gone, right? And
I think music has gone in some very strange directions these days.
it has.
There's too much technology at too many fingertips of too many people that don't invest the time to develop a real sense of
They don't develop artists
value
anymore.
for the music.
Yeah.
Although, again, in some instances, it comes down to questionable parenting. Look, if your parents know their stuff, and when it comes to music, and they're going to introduce it to you the right way, then you'll be fine in that department. But you know, if it's going to be a situation where you're more or less just left to discover it on your own,
Right.
then that's hit or miss. But it's just a journey, and just because someone hasn't really discovered it yet or tapped into it yet, doesn't mean that they someday won't.
Right.
You know, there's always hope. There's always hope. And you, Sean, you're a young man. There's plenty of time for you to come back around to playing some trumpet.
Playing some trumpet, yeah, man. With the schedule that I have, man, it would be great.
Maybe
and I might have to pick up the horn again. I do miss my horn.
You only got time to play trumpet in your sleep, huh?
I mean, listen, one of the things, and as much as I love playing jazz, you know, one of my favorite pieces to play, Star Wars.
Really?
I used to play "May the Force Be with You" all the time.
That's funny.
But that playing Disney music / Star Wars, that's a trumpeter's dream. You can, you know how many notes you have to hit? Oh man, it's phenomenal.
Real cinematic music.
Yes.
Yeah.
John Williams.
My guy, see, he knows.
Who still makes music today.
He does. Mm-hmm.
He just did the soundtrack, I think, recently for I think it was the last Indiana Jones film. Which didn't do so well at the box office.
No.
But
He did do the last
From all
track.
accounts, the music was nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing that John is still making music. Yeah. At his age.
Yeah,
Good
I know.
for him. Keep it up, John.
Keep it. So, well, no, thank you for giving us that blueprint. And by the way, what is your, for the folks who don't know, what's your business name?
For the folks that don't know, I go by Timothy Connolly,
Yes.
Ukulele Hero.
Yeah.
Nice and easy to remember. In fact, that's the name of my album that just dropped last week, too.
That's right.
Ukulele Hero. I was stressing over what to call my album, and so I asked a bunch of friends for advice, and there was a wide range of suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
But Ukulele Hero made the most sense because that's what I've been calling my business since it began.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of myself as a champion for the disabled because of my disabilities, my challenges. So I'm out there as a hero and someone trying to help inspire others who may have disabilities and challenges similar to my own.
Salute.
That, you know, you can face those down and you can get out there and you can do this. You know, you got this.
That's dope.
I love that.
That's, I think, where the heroism angle comes into play for me.
I love that.
I'm not supposed to really be able to do this, I guess, because of my disabilities, but yet here I am.
Right.
You
And
know,
what is your disability, by the way? For folks that don't know.
I lost my hearing at age 3. And so for me to, first of all, have the courage to go out and do this sort of thing is already inspiring enough, I think. But then to take it to the next step and actually show people that, you know, okay, yes, I do have the courage to do it, but can I actually do it? Am I talented enough?
Right. Do it successfully.
And of course I am, and conduct myself professionally, be punctual, be mindful of my reputation, and all these things that go into having to play the game.
Right.
You've got to pay your dues. You've got to play the game. You've got to show face. You've got to do all these things. It's a laundry list of things to do to get to this point. It's not just, overnight you snap your fingers and all of a sudden you are a rock star.
Right.
Or in my case, a ukulele star. There's a lot of hard work and dedication, and I'm forgetting something. Passion.
Passion.
Because without a real passion for it coming from within inside you, it's pointless.
Right.
Because you'll never take it as far as it deserves to be taken, and it deserves to be taken quite far. Helping to preserve music is one of the greatest things we can do for our species and for future generations, so that they can continue to learn from it, experience it, create it on their own, and take it in new directions that can continue to inspire others to taking it further. And what I mean by that is other generations, more future generations.
Right.
I think the last two generations, Gen Alpha and Gen Z, have somewhat lost touch with the music that I came up with. I'm Gen X, so I have a lot of the old school stuff inside of me in terms of what my foundation for music was, what my understanding of it is, what my appreciation for it is. It's different now. And I don't know if I should be frightened about that in terms of, what our current generations and future generations going to take from music. Really, honestly.
The next
at this
steps for
point.
music, right?
Yeah.
What's the next step for them individually? Music itself will always be music. That's not going to change.
Right.
Some folks will lament, oh, music just doesn't sound the way like it used to. It's not as good as it used to be. But that's not true. Music hasn't changed. It's the people that have changed. And it's the people whose viewpoints of music have changed. And it's the people who've become lazy. And once you allow laziness to enter into the picture, laziness is, I'm going to say it, it's contagious.
Yes.
Yep.
Be careful. Don't lose your passion. Even if you have a little bit of a spark for it, a little bit of passion, you can nourish it, you can grow it, you can cultivate it, and you can inspire others. Music allows people to think in an abstract way. Abstract thinking is good.
Yep.
This is healthy for us.
Right.
Certain schools are losing their music programs because they don't have the funding for it.
Yep.
I understand. But it's important that if music isn't going to exist in our schools, it's important that there be less questionable parenting in the world when it comes to music.
Right.
Man.
If you have kids, I don't have kids, nor do I want kids. But if you have kids,
Gotcha. Yes.
take the time to introduce them to music and introduce them
music.
to music from when you were a kid. Don't worry about trying to introduce them to whatever's hot or popular now.
Right. They can do that on their own.
Sure,
Yeah.
give them an education, because you can't learn everything in school. Sometimes it comes down to what your parents can teach you.
Man.
Exactly.
And sometimes it comes down to what your public library can teach you. Frank Zappa used to tell me, if you want to get an education, you go to the library. If you want to get laid, you go to college. And there's a difference. And that's not a knock on going to college. This is what Frank Zappa said. It's
Oh,
not
wow.
what I
That's
said.
funny.
But
So true.
anyway, it's an interesting point to think about.
It is. It is.
It's an interesting point to
It's
think
not
about.
false.
It's not false, though.
Outside of the box, you're going to learn a lot. Outside of school, you're going to learn a lot. Hopefully from your parents, and hopefully from music.
Hey, man, you dropped a lot of reels in there.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
Yes.
Oh, man.
was dope.
This is a good, man. That's a good blueprint. Come on.
Definitely.
Man, so thank you so much for that. Was the first
Thank
segment
you.
of the show.
Hey,
We're
that's
actually
cool.
going to pass it right on to Cordon for Business on the Fly.
Yeah, so business on the fly is I'm gonna ask you we're both gonna ask you some either or questions.
Okay.
And you pick one and then kind of just elaborate why you chose that one.
Or you
Excellent.
can abstain, or you can say both.
Yeah, or you can say both, but you still have to explain,
Explain.
either way. If you pick both, explain why.
Like one or the other. Like
I'll choose either or,
Okay.
and I'll up the ante.
Got it.
I'll explain why I choose the one, and I'll explain why I said no to the other. How's
Okay,
that?
that
Gotcha.
sounds good.
All right, let's roll.
First question is New York or Las Vegas?
New York or Las Vegas? Las Vegas.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Why?
Oh, yeah. Well, for one thing, I don't have to worry about any more northeastern winters. No more scraping ice off my windshield.
Yeah, the black ice, boy.
No more rock salt on the roads, eating up the underneath of my car and corroding it.
Yeah.
Rock salt is bad stuff.
It is bad stuff, yep.
That's one of those big double-edged swords that nobody talks about really, but it's unheard of around here.
Yeah, like if you go up North Reno, you deal with that a lot too. Because I went to college up there, and you get the all-season tires you want. You're changing your tires at least either once every 2 years or one every. Yeah, it gets bad, especially
bad.
driving on black ice. It's terrible, man. Oh,
So Las Vegas over New York for sure. And why I didn't choose New York? Well, of course, northeastern winters, but also after having been a performer for so many years in New York City, it's nice to be away from the stalkers and the love triangles and the nonsense and the temptations and the self-destructive nightlife. Goodbye.
Yeah.
That almost destroyed me, man.
Really? So
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
think there's any of that out here?
What's that?
You don't think there's any of that out here?
Oh, I'm sure it's all over the place, but now
It just hasn't found you.
and it won't because
Exactly.
I have the wisdom to avoid that.
Exactly. You know better, so now you got to do better.
Now I have my 8 p.m. curfew, 9 p.m. lights out. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is. Could be Saturday, could be Wednesday. Makes no difference to me. So I could be up early to exercise, meditate, and do everything I need to do to get ready for the day ahead.
That's good.
With what little health I have left. New York City almost took it all away from me, but I wouldn't let it.
That's good.
Great
like that.
question.
I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
here, man.
okay. See, man, okay, I like this guy. All right. So being able to read music, playing an instrument, or musically gifted playing an instrument.
I would say being musically gifted to play an instrument.
Okay, and why?
Well, because of the freedom that comes associated with that.
Yes.
The other options you gave me aren't very freedom-oriented.
No.
I like the freedom to explore, whether it's music, whether it's life, whether it's the great outdoors. That's me. I am ever the explorer who lives like a sailor at sea, but at the same time, I have the wisdom of an old man, because I am an old man. I'm almost 70. Now, as far as the option I chose, being just musically gifted over those other things, I think being musically gifted, as I am, or as I seem to be, allows me to have not just the freedom to explore different avenues of music, because there are so many avenues to explore.
Yes.
But I certainly anyway, have found more satisfaction in the exploration of music and the self-teaching of music. When it comes to this instrument, the ukulele, I'm self-taught. But then again, I'm also deaf. So what benefits would I reap from traditional conservative tutelage?
Tutelage, yeah.
I'm sometimes asked if I teach. My answer is usually no. My answer is usually one of two things. It's A, you should learn from somebody who can show you the proper way,
Right.
who can show you music theory,
Yeah.
and who can show you everything you need to know in a textbook context. Or the other option is do it yourself. There's so much to find on YouTube in the way of resources. There is so many things you can do to teach yourself. And when you're teaching it to yourself, you find that, of course, you play the instrument differently than others will. And you find that you have more of an intrepid nature, I guess, a fearlessness that comes only from exploration. It's a side effect of having the courage to explore. That's why I choose that of your options. As for the other options, knowing how to read music, for instance, I feel like anyone can do that. So it's a little bit less special to me.
No.
That doesn't mean
I
it's
agree.
not special at all. It's just less special.
I think I would say both, because for one, before I could read music, I had an ear, right? So then when I was able to finally read music, I was like, oh, okay, I can identify it, right? Or if I'm getting somebody who's giving me all the treble clefs and this, that, well, okay, all right, got you. Or they're giving me the double notes, I'm like, oh, okay, now I know how to follow the tempo if I'm reading it. But I already had an ear for something. I could play it before learning.
That's talent.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's something
that's a
I
gift.
had. Yeah, and I was thankful for it. Well, finally, when I got a chance to read, I was like, okay, I'm able to stretch it a little bit. Like, I'd say both on just that aspect, but I do think it's better when you do have an ear.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's a lot of musicians who don't read music.
I know.
As you know. And that doesn't make or break you.
And there are a lot of musicians who only ever wanted to seem to do sight reading.
That too.
And
So-
that amazes me.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just improvise? Why wouldn't you just
But
explore?
that's the part where I'm like, oh, okay, I see you said this, but I'm gonna stretch it here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
would
I'm
have
gonna
to
make this
ask-
no stretch just here.
Yeah.
But those are the things as a music. That's the freedom
Right.
with having
yeah.
having the ear. So yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree. I agree with you. Okay,
You can go north, south, east, west. You can go up or down,
Down.
all around.
Mhm.
But you have to step outside the box.
Yes. My next question to you is brass or woodwind?
Brass.
For sure, for sure.
And I have nothing against saxophones. In fact, when I think about saxophones and
Or tenors or none of you guys at the woodwind section. No knock to the flutes.
or the other woodwinds,
Yeah.
the clarinets, the oboes,
Clarinets,
and all
yep,
that.
yep.
It's listening to an orchestra perform a symphony or a concerto. To me, would seem naked without a woodwind section.
Yes.
But I do loves me some brass.
Yeah.
And my love of brass goes back to Miles Davis.
Yes.
And I don't mean just Kind of Blue from 1959. I'm talking about Birth of the Cool,
Ooh.
1949.
Yes, Birth of the Cool.
In fact, that was my real introduction to Miles Davis, and to see him do what he did with a trumpet,
Yep.
to surround himself with Cannonball on alto sax
Yep.
and John Coltrane on tenor.
And the tenor, yep.
Now you've got brass together with woodwind making beautiful music that has stood the test of time. Sean, did you know that the 1959 Miles Davis album, Kind of Blue,
Mhm.
is considered to be the greatest sounding quality album
Yep.
of all time, not just jazz.
Nope.
Really?
Any
All the
genre.
time. Yep.
And I've heard rumors that that album was recorded with just one centrally positioned microphone in a room.
I believe it because it's that album and they argue the Love Supreme. Because, people, they like,
I love that record too.
Love
man.
Supreme is like when I tell you, people have made it a religion. Like that's how big between those two are arguably the best album of all time. And people don't talk about it now because they don't tip to it. But till
Right.
this day, I've never knew of an album or a music genre where they tried to make a religion out of it. That's how serious
The
it is.
Love Supreme is the name of
Love
the record?
Supreme.
Yeah, Love Supreme.
Cordell's going to check out that
Yeah, you gotta
album
check it
this
out.
year.
It's by John Coltrane.
John Coltrane.
You've heard it before,
I'm sure I have.
but once you hear it, once you gotta listen to it through and through,
Yeah.
Love
Gang
Supreme.
I gotta find the vinyl. I just got a record
that's my
player.
joint.
Oh,
Man,
it's
listen,
so good. There are some vocals in it, but
Yeah.
it's mostly instrumental.
yeah, it's very much.
You'll dig it.
You'll
Yeah.
dig it, man.
I
Yeah,
definitely gotta try it out.
yeah, man.
Miles Davis, Kind of Blue, on the other hand, no vocals,
No vocals at all.
but just the best sound. There's a magazine that comes out called EQ, and it's a magazine for sound engineers.
Mhm.
And every year they rank the top 10 jazz albums of all time. Numbers 5 through 9, or I'm sorry, numbers 2 through 10 always switch around, but number 1 never changes.
Okay.
It's always A Kind of Blue by Miles Davis.
Wow.
Once you hear it, you'll understand why.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to you for sure.
The perfect fidelity, the perfect volume.
Mhm.
It's been remixed and remastered about 6 or 7 times, and reissued about 10 times over the years.
Wow.
And each time they put this out, I guess they keep doing stuff to make it sound better. But I wonder how you can even make it sound any better than it already is.
Right.
I've never heard that on vinyl. Man, that's a dream of mine. No one has ever said, hey, Tim, why don't you come over here and listen to this Miles Davis album on vinyl through this sound system of mine.
I got the vinyl.
That
at home.
would be a dream
Yeah.
come true.
I have a record player, but not like a special sound system or anything.
I don't own a turntable, but one of these days I
You
used
should
to.
get one. You hear music differently on the.
I'd
on the
love to
turntable.
get one again. I've
I
always
got one
heard
at
people
home.
say you got to listen to music on wax.
Yeah, wax.
Don't just be listening to digital compressed MP3s
It sounds
all
totally
the time.
different.
It's different, and you feel like listen. I'll let it like when I'm cleaning. I'll put the vinyl on, especially like Prince. Listen to Prince on the vinyl is dope.
He
But man,
was some kind of talent.
he was. I think you got the
Oh
last
yeah,
one.
last
Good, sir,
question.
on this section. Yeah,
Temptations or Beach Boys? I already know the answer.
yeah. That's a tough one though. I know that's a tough one.
That's a layup. But I love the Temptations. Absolutely love the Temptations. David Ruffin, Eddie Kendricks, all of them.
Yeah,
So talented. And I love that Smokey used to write some music for them too.
he did. Mm-hmm.
Smokey was really involved with a lot of those bands.
A lot of those
back
guys,
then.
him, Stevie, all those folks.
And Marvin.
Marvin, he wrote for everybody.
I think
That's why
Marvin-
they had. That's why they had all those versions of Mountain High.
Yeah.
They had everybody recorded different
This
times.
is all.
Because
These are all
why not?
Motown artists.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They were all in the same house.
They were all
writing
Motown.
for each other
In Detroit.
Yep.
But I know that was a hard one. That's how I was like.
That was a hard one. I have to say Beach Boys though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
Beach Boys. I grew up listening to the Beach Boys. My parents had a bunch of that music on vinyl.
Yeah.
And Brian Wilson is a big hero of mine because of his hearing loss.
Yep.
And I have hearing loss too. So he inspired me. And
That's actually inspired me too, because a lot of people don't know that I have hearing loss as well. I wear hearing aids too. A lot of people don't know that. I don't talk about it often. It's
Right. It's like,
It's part. It's just, we just move on.
it's right. That's right.
So man, thank you for
Thank
that, man.
you.
This
Yeah.
It's
is
a
that
big
was good.
challenge, but we could rise to the challenge. People rise to their challenges all the time. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys certainly rose to his challenge.
Mhm.
Here's a guy who, by the time he was 25 years old, had already written 40 top 20 Billboard singles that were hits.
wow.
And then went on to fall apart because of some issues with substance abuse and what have you. But, I'm going Beach Boys. Have to. I love their music. I can play a whole bunch of it. I just love to keep it alive.
Mm-hmm.
And when their birthdays roll around, I like to get out there and do some public shows to honor them on their birthdays.
Right. That's
It's
super
good to do
cool.
that.
That's dope. Man.
So, but Temptations, I don't know why I wouldn't choose them. They're great,
Right.
but I'm going Beach Boys.
Got
Of
you.
course, I don't knock it because both are great. And so thank you again for that segment, man. That was a good business on the fly. So this next segment is called The Legend. You remember on the map when you went before GPS, where that little box was the legend, where we had to know those keys on the map.
Oh, yeah.
So for this segment, we're gonna ask you our last questions as far as those intricate parts, those details for your journey, right? And so for me, my question for you is, when it comes to playing this lovely instrument here in Las Vegas, has the niche been something that's benefited you to where this is all you do?
No.
Okay.
And nor would I want it to be.
Okay, cool.
Because this ultimately, for me, is a side hustle.
Okay.
What I do to keep my lights on and put food on my table is a very different situation. My
Gotcha.
career is as something I've been doing since 1989. I've been in the freight forwarding industry, the
Okay.
import-export industry. And we provide transportation solutions for companies that want to ship cargo internationally to and from trade fairs, conventions, whatever.
Nice.
You want to
Cool.
grow your brand overseas in Spain, you talk to me. You want to grow your brand overseas in South America or Africa or Asia, you talk to me. I'm also a customs broker.
Okay.
So you want to import product from overseas in large quantities, ocean containers, 1,000, 10,000, however many thousand pounds, you talk to me. Because I'm the one who'll get your cargo into the country through customs, do all your paperwork. I'm familiar with customs regulations in numerous countries, not just the States.
Okay.
That's what I do. That's my Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Okay.
This stuff is my escape from that.
Right.
I love that.
It's a counterpoint. I have different passions. I have different side hustles. I do this. I'm also a Qigong coach. And I also read books aloud for people who pay me to do that.
Oh, cool.
And so there is no way that I would ever want music to be my main thing.
Right.
I would burn out.
Yeah.
I need to have a different set of four walls to see every now and
Exactly.
again.
I love that.
That's just me.
Yeah.
Some folks like to get into one groove with what they like, what they're good at. That's their thing, and that's their only thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you can even say that about most people. But it's good to diversify, branch out, and grow.
Definitely.
I'm not afraid of growth. I'm not afraid to challenge myself and explore different things. But at the same time, I don't want to dwell on one thing for too long.
Too long.
And
Yeah.
I would never want to have music be my thing that is all I do.
Okay.
For me, I mean, I can get out there and do 6 hours or 12 hours over the course of a weekend. And come Monday, I want to be right back in the freight forwarding world, helping people get their cargo where it needs to go, on time and in good condition and all that. That's my thread that goes back to 1989. I know we're here at the campus of the College of Southern Nevada right now, but when I was in college back in New York, it didn't last very long. I dropped out during sophomore year to go into this career of freight forwarding and import-export. The year was 1989. And since then, I've been in that field.
Man.
And when I moved out here from New York, I found work in this field right away.
Man.
And I've been working with a great company that does great work here in this city. And this company is called Scan Global Logistics.
Okay.
Scan Global had 90 offices around the world 5 years ago. Today, we have 150 offices around the world.
Oh,
Wow.
Right? And we're opening up in all sorts of new countries and new places where I never thought we would. Our headquarters are in Denmark. And our corporate headquarters here in the States is located in Seattle.
Okay.
But we have offices everywhere.
Okay.
It's a great company. It's a great business. And it's nice to help American companies grow their brands overseas.
Right.
I love that feeling.
See, that's
dope.
That's something for him right there.
Right, yeah.
That's a good plug for
Definitely.
you.
We are
Well,
definitely
you let me
gonna
know how I can help you.
get in touch for sure. But
Cool.
it's important to have that balance as a creative, especially as a creative, because
I need
creatives-
it because I'm a creative.
Right.
Not everyone is creative.
Not everybody is creative. Yeah.
Nope,
A lot
not
of people
everyone
are
is.
fine. They just go there 9 to 5, come home, and it's
Yeah.
no knock to that at all.
No.
But as creatives, it's definitely important to
It's our curse and our blessing.
right, because not only is creativity not necessarily something, I wouldn't say it's impossible to live off of, but it's not as a go-to, not as a sure income. You know what I'm saying? When you're creating, you have to grind to get to a point to where this can be your main thing. So that goes to my question.
Once it becomes the main thing, then it becomes nothing.
Wow. Whoa. That was deep. We're
It's
going to get
true.
back to that. My question for you is, for young creatives out there, how important is it to find that balance, and what was the journey for you to be able to find your balance between your creativity and also, working, regular life, I guess you could call it.
Making mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
living, learning, making mistakes and learning from the mistakes.
Right.
You know,
That's the
it's-
most important part.
It is, because look, in life, you're going to lose a lot of battles, and that's fine. You can't win them all. Lose the battle, but don't lose the lesson. And remember that you have to help yourself to go forward and grow. You can't really rely on anyone else to do that for you. And if you're a young creative, how are you going to find that balance for your own self? Is to test your limits.
Right.
And remember, when you cross over that line for yourself, make a mental note. Okay, this is my threshold. I can handle this amount of nightlife, or I can handle this amount of social interaction, but then I need a break.
Right.
And it's not just because, well, I don't really want to, it's not because they might not want to be around people in general, but everything can be handled in moderation.
Absolutely.
I keep this tattoo on my arm to remind me of how important moderation is.
Balance.
Because
Yin and yang.
if you're gonna go down a self-destructive path, then you know that it's self-destructive. It's okay as long as you're willing to admit that you're going to lose that battle, but you're doing it to learn from it. You're doing this to learn your limits.
Right.
Everyone has different limits. I've seen people just do nightlife, well into their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they never stop. They're just geared for it. They're nocturnal. But we're not by nature nocturnal. Right. We are diurnal by nature. This goes back hundreds of thousands of years. It's just in our DNA, all of us. That hunter-gatherer thing. Hunt during the daylight hours, You're awake. And then at night, be ready to, save your strength for when it's time to get out there and
do it
use
all
daylight
over again.
To hunt again. It's the same thing with nightlife around here. But for young creatives, test your limits, but make mental notes of what your limits are. Don't fall into the trap of making the same mistake again and again.
Definitely not.
Learn from your mistakes. Grow from your mistakes. But stay creative and try to find that balance. It's not easy. Look, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly.
Man.
That's the laziness aspect coming into play. But that's another thing. Eat a lot, drink a lot, meaning keep yourself hydrated. Sleep a lot. Get your rest. Never be lazy.
Come on.
Do a lot. Run a lot. And this is all basic good advice that everyone should take to heart, whether you're creative or not.
Exactly.
And if you're not creative and you're wondering why you're not, don't feel bad about that, because maybe you just haven't discovered that side of you yet. Maybe someday you will. Maybe someday you'll just be doodling with colored pencils or a pen. And then the next thing you know, you're drawing pictures or picking up instruments or challenging yourself to pick up a paintbrush and do some stuff with oil on canvas. Who knows? Life is long. You've got plenty of time to figure these things out. Don't stress it. I wouldn't want someone who's 10 years old to come up to me and say, well, I'm just not creative and I'm just not, and that's the end of it. It's actually the beginning.
Right.
So I would just hope that people would have that kind of perspective, but it's hard to expect perspective from a youth. Perspective comes with older age and wisdom.
Experience.
And experience, right. Kids don't always need to be feeling like they want to have to brush their teeth every morning and then brush their teeth again every night before bed. They won't understand the value of doing that until they're older and they start having dentist bills. Right, Sean?
Yeah, that's true.
It's hard. It's hard with young creatives. I'm not a parent, so I don't have much personal experience to draw upon. But I have spent time working with youth. And one of my ukulele students is 12 years old now. I think he actually just turned 13. And it's interesting to spend time with him one-on-one. I'm 53. He's 13. So that's a big age gap. But we manage, and I try to inspire him and help to instill confidence in him. But it's hard for him. It's hard for anyone who's 12 or 13 years old these days. It was less hard, I think, for 12 or 13-year-olds when Sean and I were kids. It's harder now because of all the technology and the distractions. And
I was the start of it. So I turned 13 in 2003. So
that was the year I was born.
I know, it's crazy. He started working at his profession the year before I was born. So I'm like, oh man. Like I remember when the computer was the gateway computer and it was that one big screen. It was but we didn't depend on that much. Like I remember going into middle school and you had to learn, like 6th grade, you had to learn how to type. That's when it went from physically writing papers. I remember I had to write papers. Remember that front to back? Like you don't have to do that anymore. And but that's something I still can do if I
it's a
really
skill that
needed
you
to.
learned because you had to.
Because I had to, but I don't have to do that no more. But yeah, man,
it's tough with young creatives. How do you help them to find a balance? It's not easy, and some people lose their balance and lose their way.
Yeah,
or get messed up with unhealthy obsessions. Whether it be narcotics or who knows. But in the music game, it's easy to see those traps coming, but you just have to have enough strength, enough inner strength, really, to steer clear of that stuff. And not everyone is strong.
that's true.
And not everyone is strong all the time. I may appear strong most of the time, and that's probably because I am strong most of the time. But I'm human. I have my weaknesses. I have my frailties.
Yeah.
I have my limits. That's why I do the 8 p.m. curfew thing now. I don't expose myself to the nightlife here in Las Vegas, but I know that it's there.
Yeah.
It's always tapping me on the shoulder.
Definitely there.
Saying, hey, man. It's like that because of where I was from in New York City.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it was just nonstop, double fisting cocktails at 1 o'clock in the morning when I would have to go get up for work the next day. I mean, I could handle it then.
Right.
Not now. Yeah.
But I also learned from it then. My health paid a price.
Yeah.
I'm 12 years out of wheelchair now. My weight's down from 310 to 180 now.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Because of lifestyle changes and escaping self-destructive nightlife. I had to because it was use my way out, my one way out, or lose it. Be headed towards a sunset or be heading towards a sunrise. You get one choice. I have one choice.
Right.
Moving out to Las Vegas is ultimately what saved me, I think. Being here, even though, yes, there's nightlife all over the place and there's lots of nonsense in this town, but that's fine for people who can handle that.
Right.
Me, I know my limits.
Okay.
Young creatives, learn your limits. The key word there is learn. Don't make the same mistakes again and again. My advice to you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you,
I
man.
really appreciate that.
Man, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. This is fun.
It's been a pleasure having you. Learned a lot of jewels. You got a lot of reels coming, just FYI to you, so be prepared.
I'm excited for Cordon to check out some of that music. Cordon. I'm excited for Cordon to check out A Love Supreme by John Coltrane. Rather.
What was it? Something Cool, right? 1949?
Well, that's Miles Davis.
That's Miles Davis.
Birth of the Cool.
Birth of the Cool. A Love Supreme by John Coltrane.
And 1959's A Kind of Blue.
A Kind of Blue. All right.
And
we'll make sure you write that down.
Yeah, send me a note or
and
something.
1969's Bitches Brew.
Gotcha.
That's also Miles.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Follow Miles. See what he was like in 49. See what he was like in 59. See what he was like in 69. Take that trip. There's no substitute for that trip. Right, Sean?
No, that's true. That's true. So we're gonna hit on to our last segment of the episode. Ooh,
the toast.
Yes, it's the happy hour. So this segment is a toast between the guest and the host, and we get to share something good that's going on with ourselves right now. So Cordon, we'll start with you and work our way this way. What's something good going on with you, good sir? Big or small?
I can't think of anything big, but I'm just happy to be here, Just happy to see another day and all my family and everyone's doing good. So that's always a good thing.
That's good.
How about you?
That's great, by the way.
Thank you.
Let's see. A toast today to the armed forces for keeping this country's nation safe. Okay. And as a matter of fact, later today at the Shalimar Hotel, I'm performing at the Armed Forces Chamber of Commerce's event. So I'm going to be hanging with them. I know this is being taped, so this is not a plug, but just a shout out and a toast to the armed forces.
For sure.
Cheers. How about you?
And then for me, what's going on good with me? Well, by the time y'all see this, it's gonna pass. But I'll be
say it anyway.
I'll be in Philadelphia next week. I'm doing another Know Your Rights camp with my man Colin Kaepernick, so I'll be doing that with him. My guy since college. So yeah, that's what I got coming. I got some other stuff coming too. Young Men's Conference for the other job. Yeah, I got some dope stuff coming, but that's what I'll toast to.
Cheers.
Impact.
Cheers.
Thank you all. Cheers.
Ginger ale.
Tim, sir. Ginger ale. Yep. Ginger ale. So,
delicious.
Good sir, Tim. Which camera? Which camera is it? This one? Boom.
Bing,
that one right here. Tell people where they can find you. All your social handles. Where can they find you, Tim?
Well, to find me, go to Reverb Nation. That's where my new album is up. It's called Ukulele Hero, 11 instrumental songs. You'll find me at reverbnation.com/Timothy Connolly/songs. And I'm also on Facebook as well. If you jump into Facebook, you'll find me at facebook.com/Timothy.Connolly.92, I believe, which means I'm one of 92 Timothy Connollys out there in the world, I suppose. But your best bet really would be just to find me on Reverb Nation, because that's where you'll find my music. Free to stream, free to download. No reason for you to not go and enjoy it.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much for joining us, Timothy. We deeply appreciate you.
Yes, thank you for coming through.
Thank you for coming through.
Definitely
We
enjoyed
appreciate
it.
you had a good time.
Great
Thank you.
episode.
Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in the place to be, this is the Business Information Buffet Podcast, also known as the BIB Podcast, where everybody eats, hosted by Sean Torrey and Don Allen. We thank you so much. We'll catch you next time. Be safe, be blessed, have fun.
Peace.
See you next time. Peace.